people don't know what exactly sex education means. In fact, more than sexual situations, consent and boundary needs to be respected in non-sexual situations. The world has changed. So parenting also has to change. You cannot keep on following what was followed 100 years back. And I'm pretty sure that our parents' generation also, most of the women might not have known what an orgasm is, because if they had known, then they would have passed on the information to us, their daughters. So since we don't know, then I'm pretty sure that they also might not have known about it. Yeah.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Compass Open Talk series. Today we have with us a woman who is trying to educate us in all ways using her online methodologies and everything, trying to make us aware what and how sex is important in our life and what sex actually means and how to be aware about sex education. I don't know how to introduce her because she is a lactation consultant. She's also a psychologist. She's also a sex educator, or I should also call her a brilliant mother. We have with us our own Maya's Amma, the one and only Swati Jagdish. Welcome, Swati. I'm so happy and excited to have a conversation with you today.
I'm also looking forward to this.
Yeah, thank you. So, getting into the conversation, I will probably start with the idea of sex education. Sex education, as we know, it is a way too much stigmatized topic. And especially coming to India, in southern India, specifically Kerala, we have been seeing so much of things happening around us about sex education. It is considered to be something, when we talk about sex education, it's something related. I mean, we are considered to be cheap when we talk about sex education. And we saw the recent controversy when the Kerala Women's Commission chairperson was saying that sex education is an important part of curriculum. She has to face a lot of online attack for the same, and people were commenting in a very abusive manner. So how do you see that? How long will it take for us to fight to make sex education a very normal thing, or to normalize the idea that sex education is important in our lives?
Yeah, so interesting question, because I've been getting this question very often ever since the incident happened. See, it's very simple. When people don't know a concept wholeheartedly, they will have so many assumptions about it. For example, when I started making videos with my daughter, there was the assumption that I'm trying to be popular. I was already popular, by the way. I didn't want to be popular or anything. When I only had my pictures on my page, there were assumptions that I'm a single mom. So like that, people can assume anything. So this is something very similar to that. People don't know what exactly sex education means, or what all comes under the umbrella term sex education. There are so many subjects that come under it, which is quite, people are not aware of that. People think, a lot of people still think that sex education is all about or only about sex. But it has so many other components under it, is something that we need to make people aware of. And I think the more awareness campaigns and programs that we do, for example, right now you are doing this interview, which might take this concept across to so many people like that. I think the next 10-15 years, a lot of people are going to be very, very aware of it.
Yeah. Okay. So coming to the idea of consent, it's a very simple thing to understand, but people fail to understand it always, as we know. I came across this recent movie, Bombay Begums, in which I felt it is like so much of reality we are facing today, especially women. Let it be any gender, but yeah, definitely women are facing this. So even if there is an absence of no, people take it for granted, like a no. So how do you think that consent becomes one of the most essential, teaching for the next generation? At least we have to make them aware that consent is something that is very important in life. So how do you look at it?
I see consent from a very non-sexual point of view. For example, because I take classes to young young mothers in the sense, mothers who have very little babies and infants and toddlers. I take classes on eating habits. So when we talk about eating habits, almost all of these mothers, in the sense I'm talking about at least 20,000, 30,000 mothers whom I've interacted with over the past 8 years, 7 years, all of them have issues with their children's eating habits. For example, none of them are able to accept when their child says no, when their child says that they're done eating. I'm done, over, madi, podum. They are not okay with it.
Yeah.
They insist that the child eats more. They persist the child to eat more. A lot of people force them to eat more, or use other distraction tactics to make them eat. So in turn, what people are failing to understand is that the body was very clearly giving the child a signal of fullness or satiety, but the adult in that relationship dynamic immediately interferes and tells the body that no, you cannot decide on your behalf. You are a child, I am an adult, and I can decide on your behalf. So the very foundation of consent starts at the dining table, probably at 6 months, when you start solid foods for the child. Parents do not realize that sex education has already begun. The concept of consent and boundaries is all around us. We don't have to go to sexual abuse and sexuality even. It's right there during eating habits. It's there when guests are coming home. How many parents are comfortable to let the child be in their room? How many parents force their children to dance and sing and perform for the guests? So consent and boundaries is all around us. It's not only in sex and sexuality. In fact, more than sexual situations, consent and boundary needs to be respected in non-sexual situations. So imagine in a period of say 1 to 5 years or 6 years, if a child is going through thousands of situations where their consent and boundaries is not being respected, then when something sexual happens at 6 years or 7 years, will the child respond? No. Now, these are the children which are today's adults. Children whose consent and boundaries were not respected are all of us. Now I'm an adult. I'm a fully grown adult, but still I'm not able to say no sometimes. I'm not able to say I'm not interested. I'll not come there now, or this is not my job, or stop interfering. Let me finish speaking. I'm not able to draw my boundaries very strongly even now at age 34. Then what will children do? Right? So I want people to understand that consent and boundaries is way more than just sex and sexuality. It is everywhere around us.
Yeah. So you beautifully connected how consent is related to parenting. So I think I should ask about parenting too. Like, I think it is one of the most responsible thing a human being is doing these days. Like, if you ask me what is the most responsible thing or a responsible duty, it's parenting. Of course, it's parenting. So that's my perspective. When we ask to the yesterday generation about how they dealt with this parenting, it's a very easy thing. There is nothing a big deal about it or something. So how do you look at it, like a parenting as a kind of way in making children more enabled, more more sensitive about gender issues and all these kinds of, so we have to start from parenting. So what is your take on that?
Yeah, so it's very easy to say that we did it, so it's so easy. And why are you people attending classes and even talking about it? Isn't it such an easy thing to do? It's easy to say that, but actually, parenting is a skill. You can get better at anything. You can get better at music. You can get better at your eating habits. You can get better at your exercise habits. Similarly, you can get better at parenting also. So parenting is not something, it is of course something natural, but it doesn't come naturally to a lot of people. So and on top of everything, times have changed. The world has changed. So parenting also has to change. You cannot keep on following what was followed 100 years back. You need to evolve, right? Everything is evolving. Our customs and culture and tradition, everything is evolving. So on along with it, parenting also has to evolve. That's all. Say I spoke about eating habits, no, getting better at eating habits. Anybody can cook, anybody can eat. But then if you understand the basics of nutrition, if you understand what is protein, what is complex carbs, what is simple carbs, what am I actually eating in a day? Am I getting all, micro, macronutrients? What is intermittent fasting? What happens in my body when my body does not intake food? If I have this basic understanding of a diet or nutrition, the way I live my life is going to be better. Like that in parenting also, there are so many things that young parents can learn today. So if you get to learn all those things, you get to raise your child with those value systems, that information. You get to answer your child's questions in a better way. You get to treat them as another individual, and not like your property, not like your slave, right? So you can get better at any field, and I see parenting also like another field in which you can get better at.
Yeah, true. So quickly jumping into the question of female sexuality, pleasure, and orgasm. This is like something which has not been in public sphere. I think not forget about Kerala, not even in India. So I think in Kerala it was like very recently with the coming of the Great Indian Kitchen movie. Malayalis learn to know about foreplay and the importance of foreplay in a sexual relationship. So all these kind of conversations are gradually coming to existence, like they are coming in public sphere, but yes, certainly it lacks, importance and recognition. So how do you place the debate of female sexuality and pleasure in the current, social political situation that women are going through? How important it is, and how do you look at it?
Yeah. Mm, if we see pleasure as just happiness, I don't think this will even be a topic of debate, because everybody deserves happiness. Similarly, everybody deserves pleasure. So, female pleasure was not discussed for the longest of long time. So people don't know how it works. I remember there are even memes that support this. There is this very popular meme that goes like this. There's a dot, and then there's an orgasm. There's orgasm written, and this person draws one straight line when it is male orgasm. Male orgasm, dot to orgasm. And then female orgasm, there's this dot, and then there's orgasm written somewhere here, and then the person just goes like this, then there, then here, then takes a U-turn, and then takes reverse, and then goes back, and then gets to orgasm, thereby implicating that female orgasm is something complicated and complex and difficult to achieve, and it's like rocket science. But actually it's not like that. When we start talking more about it, we get to understand how it can be achievable, how it can be attainable easily, smoothly, comfortably, without pain, without discomfort. So the more we have conversations around female sexuality and female pleasure, the more their partners, their so-called heterosexual partners, will be aware of how to make their partner happy, satisfied, and how to achieve equality in pleasure also. Now we talk about equality in every field. We need equality in pleasure also, because a vast number of women that I have interacted with have told me very openly that they have no clue what an orgasm is, even if they are, say, married for 5, 10 years, 15 years. And I'm pretty sure that our parents' generation also, most of the women might not have known what an orgasm is, because if they had known, then they would have passed on the information to us, their daughters.
Yeah.
So since we don't know, then I'm pretty sure that they also might not have known about it. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So due to time limitations, I'm just quickly wrapping up to my last question. So with the coming of social media, even in the pandemic time, we were like, I have personally known so many people, those who have told me, informed me that they have been tuning into your conversations and getting to know so many things, especially about female orgasm. They came to know about this only through your conversations. So there is this, a majority of people, those who are accessible to all kinds of information, and we are like really lucky to get information, like incredible, authentic information from educators like you and many other people in social media. But at the same time, I'm panicking about a large majority out there who are not accessible to these kind of conversations, who doesn't know what is happening around, no accessibility to these kind of discussions. So I'm just wondering, like, if it is possible, or I'm just asking out of curiosity, like in future, are you planning out something to make this an kind of, a kind of affordable and accessible thing for everyone, with the ground support of many people, not just personally, but with maybe governmental support? Can we just imagine about that, like a kind of system in which all women, irrespective of gender, all men and women, get access to these kind of informations and discussions?
Yeah, I think social media itself is a great platform to get a lot of free content. because there are amazing content creators today. Some of them focusing on the medical aspects of sexuality, some of them focusing on the relationship aspect of sexuality. I am focusing on the parenting aspect of sex education and sexuality. Some of them focusing on the psychology of sexuality. So you get to see all these different perspectives from different people. Yeah, social media itself is giving you a lot of free content, a lot of affordable, not even affordable, actually free content. But yeah, when a trainer is involved, when there's a workshop involved, then definitely it will be, somebody has to pay for it. Somebody has to pay for their time and their effort and the education that they have gone through to get where they are. So that is definitely chargeable. So for example, I can only speak from my side. For me, yes, I'm giving people a lot of free content through a lot of discussions, and I bring about what all experiences I go through as a parent and what my child goes through. So yeah, there is a lot of free content that way. But then I also offer workshops which people can make use of. And I also work alongside colleges and schools very regularly. So those are done at a much more lesser price, because one school can easily make 200 300 parents sit. But I will definitely not get 200 300 people for a workshop. I get like 15 to 20 people sometimes. And my pregnancy workshops, I only have 10 to 12 people, because that's the maximum I can focus on a pregnancy related topic. So depending on the topic, I have like lesser number of people or slightly more. But when a school is conducting, or when a college is conducting something, or if a brand is conducting some kind of conclave or conference, then they can reach out to many more number of people, where I charge the same amount that I would charge for that 15 or 20 people that I address, but then more number of people are benefiting out of it. So yes, so if more people come forward to conduct or organize these classes and sessions, people like me will be more than happy to cooperate and share our content and our knowledge and our skills to a lot of people. Yeah. So I really hope more people come forward, and more than anything, I really hope the government starts thinking on these lines sometime soon.
Exactly. So yeah, I too hope like schools and government organizations, if they are having a kind of collaboration, I think it can reach to so many people, people those who are not having accessible things, I mean accessibility right now. So yeah, thank you so much. Then it was like great talking to you. I know you are literally a very busy woman, taking online and offline sessions, workshops. So this was like great meeting you today. So thank you so much, Swati, once again. With this, we come to
Thank you,
the
Rohini.
end of.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I had fun talking too.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye. Take care.